Welcome to Backstory, the musical journey of Leon and Malia. Award-winning duo Leon and Malia has been part of Hawaii's music scene for over 40 years, composing and performing a wide range of music in Hawaii and around the world. In this special series, we'll be hearing the fascinating backstories behind their amazing journeys in music, from Waikiki to the London Symphony, from the momentous triumphs of Hokulea to the Hawaiian cultural renaissance.
Aloha, aloha mai kākou. I'm Kimo Kahoano. It's an honor to be here with you, welcoming you to Backstory, the musical journey of Leon and Malia. Today, we're going to be hearing some fascinating stories behind the music that has helped to shape Hawaii with their signature on it, their artful signature of music, of recognition of culture, of a wonderful care for our community and our children. Aloha, Leon and Malia.
Aloha. Good to see you.
Oh, Kimo, it's so great to see you here.
Oh, we have lots of memories.
Yes.
And
We go
certainly
way back.
we got to go back. But the first thing we want to do is kind of explain how did this continuing sharing together of taking care of the children of Hawaii, of writing, of making music. How did this all begin?
How did it begin?
Go ahead.
Woo-hoo. All right, let's start with Leon
Okay.
on the Big Island.
Okay, yeah.
I'll defer.
I was born and raised on the Big Island. I'm actually from the little village of Miloli'i.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's where my family lived when I was born. And then we moved to Hilo, and I went to elementary school and all my schooling in Hilo, even up to the University of Hawaii. But my background actually is in arts. I was being trained as a fine artist all my life since I was 7. But I also started playing music when I was 7.
Yeah.
So both of them were coming along, but I was really an artist. I came to the university here because the University of Hilo in Manoa, in Hilo, was only 2 years at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had to come over to Honolulu. But before that, I was still, the first year I was playing music in Hilo, I was playing in nightclubs.
You were playing in nightclubs?
Yeah, I was
Wow.
like 17,
In
18.
Hilo.
Yeah.
Playing in
And it was a
nightclubs.
real local style, yeah, Hilo.
Oh yes, yeah. So I was playing at the Islander restaurant or Islander nightclub, it was called. Yeah, which had a a certain license, cabaret license.
Oh, so you could
that-
go late.
The club could go late, but one of the stipulations was that they had to have a featured entertainer who played 2 or 3 times a night, 10 minutes, that was all. And so that's what I did. So I was working my way through college, playing 3 times a night for about 10 minutes at the Islander nightclub. But they were bringing in lots of different musicians. So I met Eddie B. and Eddie Kamai, the Sons of Hawaii. And everybody came through there. Sonny Chillingsworth, and so they all came and they were playing there. So I met all of them.
And they knew how to have a good time.
Oh, they certainly did, yeah. And of course, George Naope practically lived there.
Oh,
And
beautiful.
so this was my family, my musical family growing up.
And for people who don't know George Naope, he went to Oberlin College. Because in an interview later on, we got to talk story about that, and was key to Mary Monakula Festival.
Oh, yes.
So
He
when
was-
you say George
he and
Naope,
Auntie Dottie.
you know what you're saying, Leon.
Yes, in fact, Mary Monarch, when I was still in high school, that's when it was started up. And it was kind of a much broader festival at the time. They had bike races, foot races, and all kinds of other things.
Beard contest.
Yeah, right. Yes. So anyway, there's stories to be told about that whole beginnings of Mary Monarch. Anyway, so the first year I was in college, I was working there at the Islander restaurant, and one evening, a group from Honolulu came in, and this was a theatrical group that was doing touring plays, and Malia was with that, so you can pick it up from
I'll
there.
pick it
Really?
up from there
Yeah.
because my background is in musical theater. It's, so I started out from age 7, just like he was in painting, but I was on the stage as an actress. So I went through all of, and I'm from Oahu. This is my home, Cocoa Head, and Cocoa Head Elementary, and and that kind of stuff. Anyway, fast forwarding, So I spent several years with a touring repertory theater group out of Carmel, California. And so we toured all over the West Coast, and we did musicals, and it was a grand and glorious time. And then, but just prior to that, I was at UH here in Honolulu. My dad was a professor at UH, which is what brought our family to Hawaii long before I was born. And I was, of course, in acting, and so we were in a traveling theater group doing As You Like It, the Shakespearean show. And that's what we went to Hilo to do. So after the show, the whole cast, as Leon said, went to the Islander.
The one
The
nightclub.
one nightclub in Hilo.
Yeah.
And so the first time I saw Leon, there he was on stage with his guitar. And I walked in and I went, OMG. And that was the beginning of that one. But what happened was that this was, then 2 or 3 years went by where I went to California. I was with the theater. Leon was
I
in
by then moved
here.
to Honolulu and was in art here.
But
And-
you were
and
at
then-
the clubs in Waikiki by
right,
then.
right. By then I was playing all over Waikiki
Yeah. So
as a
and-
soloist.
So no wonder you two were so ready
oh,
for entertainment in Waikiki.
oh yes, yes. And so then I was on my way to Australia to join a theater company there, and I stopped over in Honolulu, and a friend took me to see Leon
Well,
again.
a friend picked her up at the airport
Right.
and brought her to Chuck's
To Chuck
Cellar.
Cellar,
Yeah,
remember
on the
Chuck
plane.
Cellar?
Right,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Yeah.
This is on Lure Street, famous Chuck Cellar.
Yes.
And we'll tell you a little bit more how famous it got after that.
Right.
But I was playing there in the late evenings. The person playing during the dinner time playing piano was Jay Laren,
Oh.
a great
So he
musician
did
and
dinner,
composer.
and then
And
Wow.
so he was playing before, and then I'd come in and I'd play later till about 2 o'clock or so.
right, it was
And-
10 to 3 at one
Yeah,
point. I
okay.
know.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah. So
Oh, but you know,
5-hour
time was
gigs, we
nothing.
were
Time
young.
was nothing.
Because everything was happening.
I know,
Yeah.
right. Waikiki
night
was
long.
happening,
Right.
right. So I got there, and the owner of
manager,
the club,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
manager, said, "Hey, why
Well,
don't
I
you?"
called her up to sing with me.
Oh, that's right.
Ah.
Yeah.
And so we sang a song
What
together.
was that first song?
Oh gosh.
Do we
I don't
remember?
remember.
Who cares?
All right. Okay, we're going to
No.
make one up just so,
Right, right.
for
No,
our memoirs.
Well,
Anyway,
it started the whole deal.
It did.
Right.
So we sang, and then the manager said, "Gee, you guys sound
sound
great
good
together. Can you come in tomorrow night?" He says to me, and I said, "Yeah, I have a couple of days." I never left Honolulu.
Yeah,
Never left.
so he hired us on the spot to be a duo. So we
So-
hadn't thought about doing that.
so
but
he really
it's, hey, we
created
got a
Leon
gig,
and
let's
Malia.
go for it.
Leon
Yeah.
and Malia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it. We were, and that was born. Chuck
Right.
Cellar.
Yes.
And everything
And-
was happening in Waikiki.
Yes.
I mean, there were so many wonderful entertainment packages going
yes.
on.
Yes, as you know.
And
Yeah,
you
it
know,
was very
Don
exciting.
was growing, and you know, you still had Queen Surf, and you had all of these people
Right.
who were Gauguins in the front of the international
Gauguin's-
marketplace.
Melvin was there at the time.
Melvin,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
Loyal
Loyal.
started to take shape,
Right.
and everything started to grow as you folks were growing.
Right.
Right.
Now the interesting
Together.
thing is we only played at Chuck Cellar maybe 2 or 3 months. I think we
Oh.
started in October, and then in December, or no, yeah, actually January, we went to San Francisco to just check things out there, and we got an audition at the Purple Onion, and they hired us.
The Purple Onion.
Yeah. So the
Wow.
Purple Onion, which is a very famous, a
Famous.
springboard club for
Yes.
many, many acts like the
Yes.
Kingston Trio and the Smothers Brothers and
Yeah.
Phyllis Diller and
Right,
Oh,
right.
wow.
Right.
Jim Neighbors. You know,
Jim
we
Neighbors,
actually
that's
met
true.
him when we were at the Purple Onion
Right.
years
Wow.
ago before he moved here. Anyway, so that was the kind of experience we had. So we left Chuck Cellar, moved to San Francisco, and the people who came in to take our place was the Sunday Manoa in Chuck Cellar. And that was the historical,
That was
In
that.
those raw days, right?
Yes.
When they had Robert and Roland Casimiro and
right?
Peter
And
Moon.
Peter,
Peter.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
they were-
oh, they were
Very rough.
great. I mean, they
Yeah.
were so fantastic.
Yeah.
So when we did come back and stay for a while, we'd go and visit them all the time. at Chuck Cellar. And then after a while, they got their own club, Primo Gardens, remember it? And so who came in to Chuck Cellar? Hui Ohana.
Ohana.
Yeah.
It was
And
a
so
grand
that
and
club was
glorious
just
time.
really, really amazing. It was
Talk about
launching lots of
success.
people.
Yes, and that whole time, of course, you were growing, and
Yes.
Yes.
you were
So we
doing
were,
a lot of
by that time,
different
we were
things, yeah.
touring California and
Right.
other places around
Right.
around the country. Yeah.
But we would come back for what? The Diamond Head Crater Festival. Remember that one?
Whoa!
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yes.
So
yes.
some people,
So-
the people who started it years ago, I think we were playing at that time at
Troubadour?
no
Ice
at
House?
Chuck Cellar. I mean, not Chuck Cellar. The JB's Grill, I think,
Oh,
in Waikiki
okay.
was about when they started that. So anyway, so and we were also touring in California at the same time. So we go back and forth. So the second Crater Festival,
Festival,
they actually flew us in from Los Angeles.
Wow.
To-
you get
yeah,
a trip
to be here.
home.
Right.
I know.
You
Yeah.
get to perform at the
Perform-
Diamond.
Right.
When
And
that
then-
was
and
with
then-
Linda Ronstadt and those
Right.
guys at that particular
And then we
one.
flew out right after that back to, I think we went to San Francisco.
Wow.
So we had that kind of a life, you know, we're shuttling back and forth from
But
California.
you never stopped coming to Hawaii.
No, we
Oh, no,
actually
no.
still lived here.
No, that was our whole plan. Right?
Yeah.
To just come
And
go.
when did it start to get more solid that you realized, hey, this is where we want to be?
Well, when we were at the
I-
Purple Onion.
I think instantly.
was
yes.
was
Yeah.
when we knew that it was working, and so somebody offered us a recording contract
Oh, that's right.
from California.
That's
and
the
so we,
first
oh,
one.
This one.
Oh, there it
Ah,
is.
there it is.
So
Was-
1970.
Woo, look.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah,
Recorded.
vinyl.
That's an album, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen.
It's-
This is what it really looks like with the label
Well,
and everything.
the amazing thing is vinyl is coming back.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, these are on sale again.
Right.
Albums are on sale.
Right.
Isn't that
And
amazing?
original ones, I understand, are really valuable.
And record
Unfortunately,
players.
we sold out of all of
Record
them.
players,
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Record players are coming back.
Yes.
So people can get them, can feel that nostalgia of understanding how great the quality was for the albums, right?
Right. The quality was very different.
Yeah.
Yes.
But of course, digital came along and supplanted all
Oh,
of
yeah.
that. But and
Finally.
we were part of that too. But we'll talk about that later.
Well-
so we went from albums to what, cassettes.
Oh, cassettes. Oh, woohoo. Right.
And,
Let's see, what else do we have?
We had
Oh,
8 tracks.
You had 8 tracks?
Eight tracks.
Well,
We
I
don't
don't
have-
see the 8
No, we
track.
don't have that.
Yeah.
We
My
left that in the
gosh.
car.
That was
No.
something that's like, you gotta.
Right. On VHS, don't forget the VHS.
yes,
Nice
VHS,
fat ones.
Part of the
CDs.
catalog.
And then-
CDs and
And
DVDs.
technology has just moved
DVDs.
us right along.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a digital, so now it's all digital, right? You have a
Yes.
website and everything?
So,
Yep.
let me tell you a little bit about the digital part, because we actually participated in that. A number of years ago, we started, well, I guess we were in San Francisco at the time, and we started to compose a piece called Boy with Goldfish. And this was inspired by a friend of mine who was one of my professors of art at the University of Hawaii in Hilo. So, but he had moved back to San Francisco, and so we visited his studio one time, and Hawaii had such an impact on him that his whole painting style had changed to reflect Hawaii. Just an amazing thing. So we were looking at one of his paintings and said, that would make a great album cover, Boy with Goldfish. But we got to write a song for it, at least to get it on.
Right.
So that's
In
what-
fact, that's what his name is John Thomas, very
Yes.
well-known artist.
Yeah.
He's gone now, but very well-known. And so he said, well, if you're going to use the picture, you need to do a song. So we did a song, and then pretty soon he was inspired by the song to do a second painting. And then we
And
did
more and more.
another song. And a long story made short, 10 years later, 10
Mm-hmm.
years later, we finished the Boy with Goldfish symphonic piece. By then,
Yeah, there it is. yeah.
well, it's in here somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
too.
right there.
Yep.
Yeah,
We
and,
have
but
it.
this is the album. This is
The
yes.
album.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing about this was that it was such a cutting-edge piece because it was very different. It used Hawaiian motifs, etc. That one of the record companies that approached us said, we want to do this in a brand new format called digital recording. And so, of course, we had been working in Los Angeles at the time, and the film industry was starting to switch to digital, particularly with their sound effects and things like that. So we were familiar to some degree with it. But anyway, so this record company lined up a digital recording company called Soundstream. And the label was Varese Saraband. But Soundstream was the first company that was recording digitally. And so they set the standards for it. They were competing with Sony at the time, but Soundstream was ahead of them, of Sony. So we went and recorded with Soundstream, and then the record company executive said, we got to record with the best orchestra in the world, because we got to make this thing look good, right? I mean, this sound good. And he was impressed by the music itself. By the way, our composer, our co-composer of this is a man named Jerry Tanner, a symphonic composer. And so he took our songs and he rendered them into these wonderful symphonic settings.
What
with
did that
chorus.
feel like when you heard it?
It was amazing.
Amazing,
Yeah.
right. And it's all based on Hawaiian myth. It's based a lot on the Opai'e song.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, where he goes to the different creatures trying to ask for help, because that's what it culminates in, where he has the opihi, clamp themselves over the eyes there. You can
Of
see
the
it in the
puhi.
picture of the puhi. So it's just overwhelming, though, to be there in London with the same orchestra that recorded all the Star Wars themes.
Yeah. And in fact,
Wow.
so this was so cutting edge that when we finished the recording, and of course there's lots of stories about the recording itself, because
Which
they were
we'll do in
literally
an
writing
episode.
programs as we were editing this piece. I mean, they say come back 2 or 3 hours, and they would write the program for an edit, and it took a mainframe computer and this a disk pack machine, like we have hard drives now, but this was a disk pack machine. It was just about as big as this table, and it had a circular stack of disks in it, and you put it in. It only had a couple of megabytes of memory. so they could record something like 10 seconds onto this disk pack to make the edit. Anyway, it was a pretty complicated thing. It took us 10 days to edit a piece that all we had to do was join them together.
Right,
We didn't have to
right,
do it,
right.
because there was no way to do any kind of multi-tracking and all that.
You couldn't, and we
We
had
didn't have computers big enough for that.
Right. And
But-
actually, when I think about that, I think it's beautiful, because multi-tracking separates, and to have that sound, that
Yeah.
full, rich sound.
Right. So this is actually standing in front of the orchestra,
was
recording
that
it live.
scary? That was
Stereo.
probably-
That's it.
Yeah. The 100-piece orchestra, 50-voice chorus were there outside of London, and we had to do it live. Oh, yes.
From entertainment
I know.
to musicals
From
to
just from
coming
us.
together to recording live.
Yeah.
Yes.
So our conductor was.
Hold on one
oh,
second.
Yes, okay.
Hold on
yeah.
one second.
Speaking
Technology is
speaking
taking
of-
over.
Okay,
speaking
okay.
of
I
live,
think
Cut.
this is an edit. Speaking of
This is
edit,
this is our fault, folks.
yeah, no, it's an
No,
edit,
it's
and
not
we
a
are
live
very
show anyway.
fortunate to take out
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can,
and be able to edit
Yes.
what we have.
Right. So yes, a cell phone, is thousands of times more powerful than the recording equipment we had back then.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, so this particular recording, our conductor was John Denver's conductor, and before that he was Neil Diamond's
Neil
conductor.
Diamond, yes.
Oh.
So we became friends in Hollywood, and so we said, hey, you want to conduct this piece? He said, sure. So he came to Hollywood with us. His name is Lee Holdridge, and at that time he was doing these big scores with John Denver and others.
Sure.
So, but the other gentleman who was recording around the same time with Soundstream was John Williams, and they had just released Empire Strikes Back. So he went back into the studio and re-recorded it with the London Symphony Orchestra, so that they could do it in digital.
Sure.
And so
they were wild days.
now, so we
just
were
wild.
all before you could hear digital.
Right. Well, that was the problem.
So-
then
so
we
this-
got back
so-
with it, and they couldn't.
So this
couldn't cut
particular
it.
recording was it just broke all kinds of well, barriers.
Yeah.
First of all, just to be able to imprint a vinyl disc with something that would maintain the integrity of a digital recording was impossible at the time.
Right.
And so they had to search around, the record company searched around to find a vinyl that would take this kind of, you know,
And they didn't
intense-
have it in America
Yeah.
because it
So-
was too poisonous.
Right. So they had to ship it from Germany. There was this one that was highly toxic. They had to get all kinds of licenses to ship it to America. They brought it to America. They retooled 2 record plants in Los Angeles because this was such a touchy vinyl. And so they did that. They pressed it, and for several months they kept on trying to press this, and it would never come up to the quality that was necessary to demonstrate how clear the digital recording is.
So where did it end up?
So they finally ended up shipping the vinyl and the project to JVC in Japan, where they conducted the pressing under surgical conditions. I mean, people are wearing, you know, full gowns and temperature controlled, absolutely, and then they pressed them. And this is what this is.
Wow.
It's pressed, one of the first digital recordings pressed. Now, the one that just preceded this was a composite recording of John Williams and us.
Yeah, we
and a couple
couldn't
of other
find it this
composers.
morning when we were getting ready to come.
Yeah.
No, but you know what? It's wonderful to let the people of Hawaii understand that you can accomplish and do so many different things without, you know, even understanding where it's going.
Right.
Because now we look at it, and you mentioned the cell phone and how much capability it has today, and we hold it in our hands, the kids take
Right.
it, all that stuff.
Right.
But in those days, that was the founding, right? So you, to be able to be quality performers who get the moment, take the moment, make it work, and I'm thinking that you made it work through relationships.
Yes.
Relationships.
Right.
This is important for your audience to hear, your generations, the kids. It's relationships, it's
Right.
people. So don't just feel like, oh, I'm. It's not
Yes.
I'm. It's about we and sharing and find out the quality of the people that we're with.
Right. Yeah,
work with
you're,
them.
you're absolutely right. And so this particular one was a combination of lots and lots of people we'd met along the way who all said, wow, I'll help you out. You know, John Thomas, the painter,
Right.
Jerry Tanner, the composer,
composer. Sure.
and then up to Lee Holdridge, who we had met because we were doing
Hokulea.
sessions for Hokulea, while he was doing a John Denver session in the next studio over for Alaska. John Denver did a big Alaska documentary, and we were working on the Hokulea. one.
Hokulea
So
one.
we had a 40-piece orchestra in our you know, studio, this RCA studios in Hollywood, and he had a 100-piece orchestra
In
in
his
side.
side.
And so, on the breaks, we would talk story and all that. So he ended up actually, Lee Holdridge ended up recording the arrangements for 3 or 4 of the songs on this album.
And that's
Yeah.
true.
So he wrote the
So-
arrangements for that, and we
Wow.
recorded those at RCA Studios. But RCA Studios in Los Angeles, they had 2 or 3 studios. The larger one and ours, the smaller one of the smaller ones, had basketball courts set up in them. That's how large the studio
Oh,
was.
Oh, my favorite sport.
Yeah.
In those days,
so the,
yes.
Yeah. So the engineers, when they had a downtime, they go out shoot baskets
Yeah.
in the studio.
Well, because you were there 24/7.
Right.
You know, you
Right.
just never went. You
Yeah.
block booked and
You
were
got to
there.
get some exercise. You got to get out of there. Even now, when we look at you know, Microsoft and we look at
Right.
you know, Apple and everybody, they have to have break time too.
Oh,
They
sure.
do.
And people who are
Recreation
working for
areas.
corporations who are being inspirational and trying to come up with
No,
new
they are.
ideas. If you
Right.
don't take that time to get away, that reminds us, right, that everything can't be all the work all the time.
Time, right.
But you are so lucky.
Well-
because you combine art and work.
Yes, and the fact that we did it all together. So then there were a number of years where we toured the ship, various cruise ships, and some.
Yeah, while we were also doing the other things.
Oh, yeah,
we would
well-
take a
Cruise
week
ships
off,
and
2
entertainment
weeks,
and
yeah.
recording.
Right.
Yes. It's always been one hat off, one hat on. And you know, our love for working with children is bottom line. You know, we we look at what we do as our mission is the children of Hawaii and the children of the world, because we're in a world neighborhood here. You
Right,
know.
and you didn't
And
know
then-
how much it was going to focus on the
Right.
recording part of your
Right.
career.
Yes, so a few years later, I was approached by a young man, a friend of ours, Brian Fong. I don't know if you remember him, but he approached me and he said, you know, a friend of mine wants to do a children's project. He wants his children to know about Hawaii.
Because they were having to move away from
Yeah.
Hawaii, but he wanted to take
And
something
he wanted
with him.
his little children to know about Hawaii. So he said, will you write some songs for them? And he said, I'll produce an album. And so
Is that- oh,
this was the album.
this was Mokulana.
Mokulana.
But those were the days where they had the storybook. So we had the whole storybook album.
Wow.
I know. And this was
Beautiful.
when we started our
Well,
emphasis on the environment and the treasures of Hawaii. Because what we have always said is that there are many treasures in Hawaii. But the greatest treasure of all are the children of Hawaii, because it is up to them to take care of our other treasures, our birds and plants and animals and whatnot, so that Hawaii will always be a very special place to live.
So this was a vinyl disc, you know, a large 12-inch vinyl disc. And we've continued, we've always had young people contact us and say, you know, this is music I love. But now we're getting parents and grandparents who grew up on this. And they're looking for the
Yeah, so we
album.
turned it
So we had
into,
to move with the times and turn it into a CD,
beautiful.
Yeah.
reproducing the,
So we
the same artwork.
produce that, but then we have a CD.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful.
I know, and downloads and all that stuff, because now
Right.
we're into all of that.
And we thank you,
Oh,
Leon and Malia, for being such a positive, wonderful, articulate sharing of
Thank
our
you.
culture. This is how life should be. This is how we should act as we move forward in our own directions. But we should always share in that value of understanding, of human dignity, of spirit, of aloha.
Hi. Mahalo. Wonderful.